For years, I've had friends recommend that I try out Bioshock, touting its great storyline. This was at a time when I was playing very, very few games, so I never really even looked into it until a friend finally demanded that I at least play through Bioshock Infinite. He bought me the game earlier this year to force my hand, so to speak. Then another friend told me I simply couldn't do that because I would lose so much by not having played the first entry. And here we are. It's a lot of hype to live up to, honestly, so now that I have found my way through Rapture and saved all the little sisters, what did I actually think of the experience? Stay tuned to find out. Also, please like and sub if you'd like to see more timely analysis like this. Honestly, for a game whose story I ultimately loved, I wasn't really crazy about the way they were developing it early in the game. It was mainly through found diary entries and vague radio communiques from a rando who's trying to get you to help find his wife and kids and get them out. But in retrospect, I really think they did a great job of concealing the story's big plot reveal while also giving you enough information piecemeal to keep you interested. You're supposed to feel confused and unsure as you wander through the crumbling infrastructure of what was clearly once a very impressive submarine city structure. Act 3 ties everything together. It's just really well constructed and satisfying overall. However, that's about as deep into the specifics of the story as I'll be getting in this review for two reasons. One, if you don't already know the storyline, go and play the game. The real selling point for this game is the story, and there's a reason for that. It's legitimately excellent. And two, we should be coming out with a new project soon, which is directly related to the story of this game, so I'm going to save my takes for that. Stay tuned. Moving on. Aside from the stellar narrative, what really makes Bioshock special is the concept of plasmids. These are injectable superpowers which ultimately cause the downfall of this quote-unquote utopia and transform this into more than just another adventure shooter. I especially enjoyed telekinesis, and never thought I'd say this, but it's just super fun to throw corpses around. The ragdoll physics were great. If you've watched this series, you know I'm bad at this, so I probably underutilized some other cool ones, but the ones that I did use were pretty handy. The animations that came with them were also super well done. For a game that's this old, the animations and graphics in general hold up really well in my opinion, and that translates to a fairly immersive experience. The world of Rapture feels lived in, with each area being distinct and alive. The opulent, roaring 20s stylization of the whole thing is extremely well done, and it helps sell the vision of an underwater libertarian mecca created by a caricature of a Red Scare-era American business tycoon. That's actually another thing I should address. As an experience, I feel like it's really hard for me to judge it fairly, with this being my first time through it almost 15 years after its original release. Don't get me wrong, I still think it's worth a play today if, like me, you have never plundered through Rapture before, because the story has only grown more relevant as time has passed, but you can really tell you're playing a game that was developed for the Xbox 360 at certain points. It took me a while to get used to the control system. I was playing the original version on PC, not the remastered if that matters to you. Getting used to the control system, that's something that you're going to have to deal with in a lot of games. And again, it could just be that I'm a hack and a fraud, but even when I got my keybind situation kind of sorted out and reached equilibrium, I just never really acclimated to the lack of ADS and just the way movement worked in general. However, I would temper this by acknowledging that this may have been a deliberate choice by the devs to make fights with Big Daddies and Houdini splicers more intense as you're frantically plodding away / trying to dodge while your enemy is moving much faster and trying to murder you. But that's actually another thing in this game that I kind of wanted to talk about. Being unfamiliar with the game and really the franchise as a whole, I guess I just didn't expect it to fall so much on the sci-fi horror side. I know. What the hell did you think an underwater society built by a billionaire seemingly just to avoid taxation was going to look like? And I mean, yeah, that sounds like a hellscape, but the only thing I can really say is I did not think it would look like this. It's just a weird scene all around, man. You got very religious murder hobos just roaming the halls alongside people who seem to just be trying to live their life like every day is the purge. I guess it boils down to it feeling more like a horror game than I expected coming in, and that's just usually not my jam. But I'm kind of glad I didn't know that beforehand, though, because it might have prevented me from playing this, and I would have missed out on one of the better narratives I've ever played in a game. Even with my aforementioned skill issues in general, there are a couple of things that I think you should consider if you're going to play it today, and they might be turnoffs for you, like the aforementioned lack of ADS. That was a big one for me. Side note, as I wrote this review, I noticed when I was watching other people's reviews that some were able to aim down the pistol sight, so maybe I'm just an idiot. I don't know. That's entirely possible. If you've watched through the series, I'm willing to accept that outcome. I kind of hope it's that, honestly, because that's the funniest possible outcome. Anyway, another thing that I really had an issue with, honestly, was the weapon upgrade system and crafting. I felt like it was a pretty bare bones system, and I just didn't care about most of the options at least the UN vent a lot of the time. If you're used to crafting or weapon upgrades that you've seen in a lot of modern titles, this is going to just feel disappointing. Again, this may have been another deliberate choice to convey resource scarcity in a failed underwater city-state, but just because I understand the logic of it does not mean that I necessarily enjoyed it. What upgrades I was able to get from the weapon upgrade station were pretty useful, but I ran into very few of them and they just shut down after buying one single upgrade, so it just felt underutilized to me, at least. And with that, we come to my final opinion. This being my first review for Gamers with Day Jobs, I will now also be unveiling my proprietary rating system. From the low end to the high end, we have, who is this for? Meh. Alright. Pretty good. And great. Where, you may ask, does Bioshock fall on this scale? Well, I'll tell you, viewer. It's pretty good. Probably just shy of great. The only thing holding it back from the top of the mountain category, in my opinion, I feel like the horror aspect of this game is prevalent enough that I can't say I think everyone would enjoy it, but if you haven't played it before and you like a good narrative, it is worth your time at least once. Even with the dated UX, it still offers plenty of fun and rewarding experiences, like using telekinesis to throw stuff, pulling off a hack on a machine when you need it the most, or just by being the best boy and freeing all the children. It's a story that is better than most AAA titles released every year, and that alone should be all you need to know. The fuck do I know, though? I'm not even a real gamer.
You go, Scrub.